nice fresh black coffee. How could you go wrong? So we're gonna put this bigger tree, still don't know what it is. Let me know in the comments if you know what these bigger leaves right here, softwood tree. If you know what it is, let me know. Let me know in the comments. And you know, most people think, oh, I need a really expensive tree from a nursery. But the deal is that you don't need to go spend a couple $100s on trees. I mean, if you have anybody who has property around you, or you have property, you can go find little tiny, like this big leaf maple. I'm soaking it in water right now to keep its roots wet, but you know, found that out on the property, dug it up, we're gonna turn it into a bonsai. This is a little Japanese maple forest that I collected some seedlings and then I stuck them all in one pot. And you can see, you know, one of the trees is pretty much dominating. The other ones are kind of sitting, you know, in between miniature and medium size. And each season around this time, I come in here and I cut all the growth all the way down to the smallest leaf node. And sometimes there will be 2 sets of leaf nodes like this, and I just leave them. But other than that, I come in here and I just retop these maples in here. And even if they don't have a leaf node down low, I still cut down to a point. I just kind of cut it to a stick, and then it'll start sending little nodes out here at the base. So like this real big thick one, I'm just going to come in there and cut it right there, and this one down here like that. So each summer I'm coming in here, and so if you find like a bunch of little seedlings somewhere, you can put them all into one pot, into some potting soil, and then we're training the stems to grow thicker each season. So that's how I do that one right there. And then I'll just put it back into a pot with a little bit of fresh soil. Since I'm trimming them pretty hard back, I mean, you can see I cut way more than a third, but that's how bonsai is. I mean, bonsai doesn't go by the book. Maybe it goes by the bonsai book, not the actual textbook. So this one right here, you can see, I mean, it's pretty tall, but in order to get thickness down here and get this thing ready for a pot, like a bonsai pot, we need to get all that growth that's up there focused down here. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm not going to go all the way to the lowest point yet. I'm just going to come in here and cut it about there, a third of the way down. And that's just basically going to send all the energy down here lower. And I'll cut this back here like this, just to kind of, like I say, direct the energy to a new area, centralize that energy. So, and you know, this branch I'll probably keep, you know, just because it is a good branch to, you know, eventually send the stem that way. So like if I wanted to at the end of summer come in here and make another cut down here, make that the new central leader. That's how you get trees that grow S's in them. You know, you're cutting to a point down low that's sending energy up higher. So not sure if that makes sense to you, but it's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, if you have worked with any bonsais of any form, let me know down in the comments what they were, what kind of tree it was, what you were trying to promote. Were you trimming them in the spring to create thicker trunks, or were you deadheading them or deadwooding them in the winter or fall? Because my method is coming in and cutting them real low like that to thicken the trunks. And you can see, I mean, that's a lot that I cut off of the tree, but bonsai is almost kind of like forcing the tree into a stress response. We want it to know, like, hey, this is all you got left, so you better thicken it up. And the roots obviously aren't going to be absorbing as much, so I'll come in here and tease them up a little bit, nothing too crazy. I do want to get them out of this waterlogging soil. It seems like this one and whatever this big tree is next to me, they're in kind of a waterlogged soil. So I'm gonna fix that, and then there's a grub. And after I get these roots fixed and I get that big one trimmed, we'll get all of them repotted. So let's get the big one trimmed down. It's got a real thick trunk. So I'm showing you guys kind of miniature, medium, large, and then what we're gonna do at the end of the video is we're gonna go down, and I got a tree that I found in the ground. It's a big leaf maple. I'm gonna go ahead and get that out of the ground, put it into some fresh dirt, some topsoil, and then trim it back real hard, get it ready for its first bonsai session. So thanks for tuning in, guys. This thing really just has a ton of growth on it. I'm gonna be cutting it back real hard. If anybody knows what kind of tree this is, let me know down in the comments. I'm not entirely sure. Not too sure what tree we're working with. It's got real soft wood. Like when I cut through it with my hand snips, it's like butter. So I'll just be coming in here, trimming it back real hard. Looks like I have 2 trees here. And you would think, oh no, he's gonna kill the tree. But I'll tell you, watch some real bonsai experts working on their trees. I mean, I'm no bonsai expert by any means. I've worked with bonsai several times, and I did it for quite a few years, and before I couldn't really take care of my bonsais anymore, and they all died. It was either me or the trees. I said, you know, I can always grow new bonsai trees down the way, so I chose my health over the trees' health. So the ones that persevered and lived through me not really being able to take care of them, they're still here and they're thriving. So now we've got this big long branch. I'll cut it back to about here, just like that. And then this right here isn't healing that proper, so I'm gonna come down here and give it a good cut like that. So you can see what we're left with. Not much, but there's still just enough for the tree to know we want it to thicken the trunk. So that's the main priority here. And like I say, I'm pretty sure I have 2 trees here, but it looks like their roots are pretty entangled. I might be able to do a little bit of surgery to get them untangled. So I don't want to pull on these trees too hard from each other. I might just end up leaving them growing together for now, and then I'll come in this winter and I'll separate them. And as far as this soil goes, I've got to get them out of this soil. It's not great soil. So I'm gonna work on teasing these roots. Gosh, I was just commenting on someone's video this morning talking about how the bugs haven't really been out that much. I haven't been seeing too many flies or mosquitoes, or, you know, just none of the bugs I'm usually seeing thick this time of year. But I tell you, they're they're out today. I think me saying that this morning kind of just triggered all these little flies to come out. They've just been swarming me all morning. So I'm gonna get this cruddy soil out of here, get these roots teased up, and if you get a tree from somebody, you don't know what they put in here. Sometimes they'll have put broken like clay pots inside their soil at the bottom. Always be really careful when you're teasing the roots, and it's kind of why I like to come in here and use a tool, because if you run into any broken clay pots that's real sharp, you hit it with a metal rake versus your fingers. And you can wear gloves if you want. If that's something that you do, wear gloves, do it. But for me personally, I don't wear gloves. I used to. I quit wearing gloves though years and years ago. And you can see, you know, the top of this root ball is kind of dry, but that's because it was in one of those air pots, and the side of the air pot blew out like a while ago, and I just never repotted it, never did anything with it, so it wasn't really holding water in the pot. Which, I'll tell you, whatever kind of tree this is, it's resilient. Because I didn't take that great of care of it, and it's still just like, you know, what's next? And same with this one. I mean, I'm not gonna try to get these roots teased bare. I'm just gonna tease them out a little bit. And you wanna be careful. If you cut through a tree and the tree seems like the tree has softwood, the root's bark is gonna be really soft too. So you wanna be careful when you're untangling softwood trees' bark, or softwood trees' roots, because like I say, if it seems like the wood of the tree has softwood, then I'll tell you the roots are going to be pretty soft too. Wherever you notice you might have like cut or torn or ripped a root, you can always go in there and cut it fresh back to another little fuzzy lateral root that's growing in the downward direction, and that will just kind of help the tree. Instead of dying, that whole root dying, it's gonna send new root growth out there. When I have dry surface roots, I'll usually take one of these little kiddie pools and just fill it up with water. Not all the way, but you know, just so I can kind of let it soak in some water for a little bit and get all the roots really hydrated. Because if you try to put a tree in fresh dirt and it has dry spots in it, wherever it has fresh soil and it's like a different moisture content than what the dirt is in the root ball, it might not make great contact, and then you'll get some hydrophobic areas that don't absorb water between the roots and the new soil. So come in here, make sure all the roots are moist and looking good, and then we'll get it repotted. And if you see your tree having real structured roots like this, usually what I'll do is I'll, you know, take a piece of rock or driftwood and stick it down underneath the roots, put it back into a pot. It looks super cool. You can see the petrified wood pieces that I shoved down in there and trained these roots real nice and gave it some character. So you don't just bonsai the trunks or the stems of the tree, you can bonsai the roots too. Here's my Ukigumo that I've been training, and you know, this tree is about 12 years old, and for the last 6 or 7 years I've been lowering its top lower and lower. When I first got it, it was like 7.5 feet tall, and I trimmed it right before it got its leaves, and I was kind of teaching a demonstration class on like beginner pruning, and the tree's doing absolutely everything I described. So it was kind of why I don't trim the trees before they leaf out. It promotes all this unwanted, uncontrollable growth. But the plan is to teach another class at the end of summer to show how to maintain this growth. Come in here and retrain it, and then I'll be able to go over all the, the outer canopy structure and do some inner structural pruning. But let me take you guys a little closer to show you the trunk of the tree. As you can see by the trunk of the tree, I mean, it's about three of my fingers thick, that trunk. So you can see right here, this is the wound from the last time I cut the top down. I think that was probably, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. So now it's just growing all of its growth in this direction. It's a pretty cool tree, really. It's got a lot of character, but in order to maintain this character, definitely needs to be trimmed. So I'm hoping to teach a class on that at the end of summer. Follow-up trimming from after you've trimmed your tree before spring and then caused it to grow uncontrollable growth and way too many leaves. So right here we have a big leaf maple, and it's growing out of the rocks here, so I'm gonna have to pull these rocks back to get to it. A lot of the times when they grow out of the rocks like this, they end up with really cool roots. So I'm just gonna work on digging it out of these rocks, and then I'll dig it out of the ground. A lot of people might see a little tree like this and just go straight for yanking it right out of the ground, but I want to try to be somewhat gentle. Get some roots out of here that are workable. That way it's not just killing the tree. That would suck. You're trying to save a tree and you kill a tree. I mean, it happens. Looks like it's already got a pretty good rock growing underneath of it. I might just be able to dig that rock out. Alright, its roots go over this way. It's got a pretty aggressive root system. You don't want to rip the roots out too. Like if they're not just pulling right out, you want to dig back a little bit more, but seem to have gotten that one. And there's that one. Look at that. How cool. All right, let's get this thing soaked in some water, get the rocks put back, and then we're gonna put this in a fresh pot and see what we can do with it. Topsoil, G&B's soil building conditioner, perlite, and a little bit of mushroom compost. Just trying to get this mixed up real good. Make sure there's no pockets of perlite or whatever sitting at the bottom. You can use a pitchfork or whatever, but I like touching the dirt with my hands, really getting up in there, getting it all mixed together. Kind of like filling the dirt with my energy before potting the trees. So since I'm going to be, teasing these roots and keeping these roots down low and eventually putting it into a real bonsai pot, I'm not going to plant it all the way up into the pot where I normally would. I'm actually going to leave the soil down a little bit lower. Just because of the reason being, like I say, I'm going to be cutting these roots this winter once the tree goes dormant. So as you're filling the pot, just kind of go around and tuck dirt down into the edges of the pot. Get that soil compacted so it's not running right down the edge of the pot. It's a good step you don't want to forget. If you've watched my other videos of repotting trees, you've definitely heard me say it. I hate to sound redundant and repetitive, but a lot of people don't even think of that. Like, they think that when you water the tree, it'll just compact the soil along the edges of the pot, but sometimes it's just running right down the edge of the pot and you don't even realize it. Soaking in water for a little bit. What I'm going to do is get it started on its journey to being a bonsai. So, there's its first haircut. Excuse me. I'm actually going to cut these lower branches off a little just to help it so it's not transpiring as much water. So, get this thing into a pot. Doesn't quite fit into the pot, so I'm going to come in here and just cut the roots back a little bit. And we're still left with some pretty good roots that are fanning out, so that should be good. Next, we're going to do this little bonsai forest. There's a lot of new little roots growing down in there, so I'm going to be careful not to break any of those roots off. And I'm planting all these trees deep in their pots just because, like I mentioned, I'm trying to keep their root balls a lot smaller, because at some point when I do go to trim their roots, I won't have as many roots to cut off because I'm not giving them as much soil to grow all those new roots in. And one thing I've been doing, someone mentioned it in one of my other repotting videos, is when you're putting fresh soil into a pot to help get rid of air pockets, you can kind of shake the pot around like this. It works really good for smaller trees, but I would still come in here and compact the edges after you shake the soil around to get rid of the air pockets. But after getting rid of the air pockets, you want to come in there, like I'm saying, and compact those edges. These last two that we need to do, this one was in some sort of like square ceramic pot. I was gonna see if I could fit it into here, but I don't want to work the root ball down much more than I have. So I'm gonna put it into this pot. There's some nice space around the edges for me to be able to compact soil into, and it's gonna give it a little bit more room to grow. So we'll get this filled up, get this little baby coral bark repotted, and then we'll get the ginkgo repotted. So this last one we're working on is the ginkgo, and it's got some really nice roots. I've actually never seen ginkgo roots before up until today. It's a first for everything, I guess. So we're gonna get this one repotted, and then we're gonna get all of them rewatered. I'm tired. Been up since about 2:30 in the morning. When you have a creative mind and you're always working on something, whether it be writing, creating a video, studying, consulting, don't matter, just drains you. takes the life out of you. The last thing you do is you come in here and you give the trees a fresh drink of water after you repot them. I'll usually water them in real light and gently one time, and then come back and give them another gentle watering, just to make sure that you get all the what might be air pockets out of the soil. So I like to come in here and water them once, come back, water them a second time, and that goes for trees I'm putting in fresh pots or putting in the ground. It doesn't really matter. So this gets rid of all the dry spots and all the air pockets. Alright, these trees are ready to go.